Yes, sir, guys. We are back. It's Rel and King for another episode, guys, of the members only. We definitely welcome y'all, man. This is one of those shows here that we show our appreciation to our Glow Yard members, man. We appreciate y'all rocking with us and supporting the channel in a special way, man. Y'all are the reason why we keep the lights on this channel, man. So we definitely appreciate y'all, man, rocking with us. Like I said, we got a special one for y'all today. Of course, you know I am your boy Rel. And joining me as usual, man, I got my boy King on, man, with the all-black background. What's good with you, man?
Nothing much, bro. I'm blacked out today because, you know, maybe the end of the Mavs, or a lot of people think we're close to that, but maybe Grant will brighten my day up, or I should say the guest. I'm sorry, I gave his name away.
Spoiling stuff, huh? No, what I was going to say was I thought you had it off, man, because these electric bills are getting high right now, bro.
They are, though.
Especially in Texas, man. Jesus, man. But, yeah, man, you already broke the news, man. Listen, guys, we have a special one here for you guys today, man. Like I said, we appreciate y'all rocking with us, man, for brand spanking new members only. We got a special guest about to hop on with us, guys. And King's already said his name. Let's go ahead and get into it. We got the great Grant Afseth on with us, guys. So we definitely appreciate him rocking with us today. Yes, sir. The crowd is hype. What's good, Grant? What's good, man?
I'm doing pretty well. How about you guys?
Nothing much, man. Let me go ahead and fix that real quick, man. All right. Nothing much, man. You out in Miami right now?
I am, yeah.
How's the weather treating you out there? Is it good?
It definitely is a lot better than Philadelphia.
Oh, I can imagine. Have you hit the beach or anything like that, or you just strictly work out there right now?
Yeah, strictly work right now. Yeah, I got a couple things I got to write.
Oh, okay. I hear you. I hear you.
Focus on that. Hanging out outside, though, for sure is always good.
Yes, sir, man. Listen, man, we definitely appreciate it, man. It was a long time coming. We know you're a busy man. We want to introduce you guys. As y'all would know, I know a lot of y'all follow him on Twitter. He is a beat writer for the Dallas Mavericks for DallasBasketball.com. So if you guys want to follow him in his work, you can go to DallasBasketball.com. Also, I have his description. I have his information down in the description box below, guys, for Twitter. And if you want to follow him on there, if you don't follow him, I definitely recommend y'all follow him, man. He's a great follow, man. We definitely appreciate him rocking with us. King, you guys think you wanted to ask, man?
I just want to know, Grant, are you ready to answer a few questions for us?
I am, for sure.
Okay, so definitely what we're going to do, I'm going to ask a few questions. I guess Raul can ask a couple he may have. And then we'll get to the Glow Yard because they're the real, meat and bones of the show. They're probably we're going to ask them to keep it a little polite, guys, and keep it nice. And, you know, don't go too hard on the Mavs tonight because we have
don't embarrass us, y'all.
Don't embarrass us. But, yeah, he's definitely said he's going to answer as many questions as he can. But I guess we can get right into it. The first question I guess I have for you, Grant, is like, how did you get involved? Like, tell us more about yourself and, you know, how you decided to get to this point.
Yeah, for sure. So I actually initially wrote about the Indiana Pacers when I was in college. I wrote kind of remotely about them for a local paper in Indiana. So I basically was able to cover a couple games and like when the Pacers went to Phoenix, or I drove up to LA when they were on the road there. So I got experience doing that. And then I actually wrote on the Sports Illustrated Pacers site first, but then I switched over to the Mavericks because I grew up in Dallas, so that's kind of what I wanted to do. So then coronavirus kind of prevented me from doing like the actual like normal stuff because of the restrictions with the access and all. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this year was my first year of doing stuff like actually like every day, like in person and like the regular sort of way of doing it for sure.
Nice. So they traded you for Rick Carlisle, basically.
Pretty much.
I hope that was a good trade.
Man, listen, do you miss covering the Indiana Pacers, or do you definitely prefer covering the Mavericks?
Honestly, I would really like to cover any team. I just like basketball, to be honest. Right. I think, but the Mavericks are very, very fun to cover for sure. You can't go wrong with two All-Star starters. You can't go wrong with that for sure.
You really can't. Like, are you a Mavs fan though?
Honestly, I'm not really a fan of any team. I honestly just like basketball.
Good night, everybody. Not so much.
That's probably
It's
actually,
kind of hard to be a fan whenever you like or just focus on like all the coverage and all that stuff. Like
Right.
I don't really root for teams or anything. I mean, I will say this: I do like when they win. It definitely is always better to write about a win and people being
Right.
happy about the
Mhm.
team and all that. So yeah, I guess you could say I do like root for them to win for sure.
I think that's a good thing though, Grant, that you're
It
not a
is.
fan of the team. Actually, I think you can keep things like non-biased. So I think that's a
Yeah,
good
for
thing.
Yeah.
sure.
But I guess let's get into some questions about the team. I'll ask you. Uh, bef- I guess since being here and covering the team, who have you had, I guess, a difference of an opinion about? Maybe since you've been here, maybe you felt a certain way, maybe their personality would be, or like I don't know anything. Like maybe you heard things or any type of thing like that, and then maybe you got to the team and you're like, that player is nothing like that. He's completely different. It could be more than one player.
I think honestly, probably the main one for kind of like how people talk about someone versus like how they really are actually would probably be. I think Christian Wood. I think like he's been very like friendly. He's a very like kind person, and I don't think people said he wasn't, but like I think just kind of like his professionalism. I think is something that has been impressive. That's something that I think. Like people who cover the Rockets or other teams or previous situations he's been in. Like
Mhm.
there like rumors come out about that. So it's like
Right.
when someone's like very like friendly and kind and like you don't really like see anything like that. It's like yeah, like that's something that I guess necessarily wouldn't be the most shocking thing, but it's like kind of interesting to see for sure.
That's good to hear, bro.
Nah, I thought you was gonna say. I thought you was gonna say Kyrie. That's really who I was sitting there like he about to say Kyrie,
I
man.
will say this though, because I did Pacer stuff. I
Mhm.
do know one of the Brooklyn Nets players that used to play for the Pacers. Like I know people around him, and they have nothing but great things to say about Kyrie as like a teammate and like as a person and all. Like he's a very friendly guy. So honestly, I kind of already knew that he was like that. So it wasn't really surprising for me, but yeah, he is a very nice person though for sure.
Man, I'm not gonna lie to you, Green, because I King and them kind of know how I felt before we picked him up, and it's like I guess maybe a month before we got him, my mind had kind of changed a little bit, and so when we got him, of course, as fans, you've seen what happened with him in the past. You were kind of thinking like, yo, let me just kind of temper my expectation here and let's just see how this goes. But just like you, man, I completely changed my mind on him. He's been a constant professional, even though I know you see a lot of national media and guys like that trying to spin things to make it seem like he's being a problem and stuff like that. Which here in the local media, nobody's hearing any type of issues with him. All you hear are the players and stuff like that saying good things about him and talking about how his impact and his leadership has affected his team in a positive way. And so I kind of want to get into some the meat of this thing here, man, because you tweeted some things to a certain person today, man. I kind of want to get your opinion on this. I think you already know who I'm about to ask about, because it's gonna kind of lead into what I'm gonna say here, man.
If
Because
I had
as
to guess, he might be taller than me. Is that
yeah,
is that
he's a
right?
little, just a little bit, just a little bit.
I think it's all in all of us.
But yo, the thing, man, I this is why when me and King we go on like Twitter and stuff like that, guys like you and Landon Thomas and guys like that, we kind of draw to because we see how you cover the teams and stuff like that, the players. It's like when you give your news, you give it in a way to where it's like you just said, you're not biased to anything, and you're not trying to spin it to twist everybody's way of thinking when it comes to that certain subject or whatever, right? So that's why like whenever you guys post something, I'm reading it, I'm paying attention to it. It's like, okay, let me see what's going on. Okay, they said this and this, good, but like when you see national media doing what they do as far as how they cover these teams, man, like where does your mind go to first with that, man?
Good question.
Like honestly, when I sit in a room and I hear someone like get through a whole like media availability without saying something crazy, and then I see something like online where it's like, oh, look what Kyrie Irving says. Like,
Right.
come on, man. Like that's not fair at all. Like to him at all. And then it's like it's frustrating because it's like then it's like why would you trust to like give real answers whenever you're talking like he for example like the Brooklyn Nets comment about like I didn't expect to ask to be traded for the Nets. I would have liked to finish the season. It's like he was giving a real answer about adjusting to a new team mid-season, and it's like a small part where he said like, I didn't expect to basically enter the season with one team and then get traded to another team. That wasn't my original expectation for my season. So
Right.
I'm adjusting the things with new goals that I didn't expect to have. Like that, there was nothing that's unfair to say in that entire comment. And it's like, some people will like I seen like Nets people who are like, oh, well, you could have just not requested a trade. And it's like, why are we even talking about Kyrie Irving? Like, y'all are supposed to have this exciting team, like, it's just weird. It's like, focus on yourselves. Like, it's done.
Exactly.
Like, move on. It's such a little nitpicking sort of thing, I feel like.
You know what's crazy too, man, about that? It's like now I see why Kyrie was like real hesitant to talk to people in the media. At first, you just talk to the media. Why you now? Like I said, you see it, and then you see what's happening with him here. It's like, okay, now I see why he was like, nah. I think I'm gonna stay away from the media, because like everybody already had their mind made up on him. No matter if you actually met the guy, and actually talked to the guy, sat down and got to know him. He's like, nope, my mind's made up. That's how he is. I'm just gonna stick to it, no matter what he does or what he says or whatever. It's like he has no way to kind of change your mind at all in some people's eyes, and that just that kind of don't sit right with me for sure. I don't understand it. Like I don't see how you can sleep at night, like say a Kendrick Perkins or somebody like that, where you're spinning certain things, and it's just like, bro. And if people like you are sitting there trying to correct them and say like, yo, I'm the one who was there during the full interview, and I'm talking to the guy. Like, put it into context. You're not putting it into context. You're taking that one thing out, and then you're spinning it. So it's just like, I don't know, man. But you say, King?
Oh, I was just going to say, bro, you had started getting to the juicy stuff, so I guess I'll ask something. As far as we don't just have polarizing, I guess, players, we have a polarizing coach as well right now. Well, actually, he's been polarizing since we picked him up, Jason Kidd. As far as your experience with the team, or as far as your experiences with the teams right now, how do you feel as far as the team and Jason Kidd having them still? Do you feel like he's lost them at all? Do you feel like, just things are just rough right now and they're going through the patch together? Or what do you feel about the team right now?
Well, I think the big thing is that, offensively, aside from like clutch situations and all that stuff and some of these recent losses, like I think the offense, has been one of the most efficient in the league, but defensively, I feel like they just don't have the ability to put together answers. Okay. So I feel like they've tried going big. That doesn't work because they don't really have an anchor and they're too slow at that point. They can't go small because like when their version of small isn't just like the NBA traditional small ball. That's like a 6'4" guy playing the 3, and then someone who's like 200 pounds playing the 4, and then there's not a rim protector playing the 5. Like, so I think they've kind of tested out different stuff, and I really I feel like it's just one of those things where it's like you can push as many buttons as you want, but it's like I don't really think that there's an answer. Now there are things that I feel like in terms of coaching, like when you have what was it like. I forgot the number of games where they've had like a double-digit lead and they've lost the game. Like it's a lot. I forgot the exact number, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
And then like some of these clutch situations with the team, kind of like we have Kyrie Irving standing in the strong side corner. Like that stuff. Like I think you could probably say maybe you win a game or two or more. If the approach could have been different, and who knows what the results would have been, obviously, because sometimes players just miss shots. But I feel like the approach on some of that stuff, it's like I personally feel like I'm not a coach, but I feel like I could say that I would probably consider that something that could be better or different, and maybe the results would be too.
Yeah, myself and Rel, we talk about it all the time. We just talked about it at our last show actually about the pick and roll and how efficient it is right now between Luke and Kyrie, and that we're only running it 3 times a game. Right. Like that's strictly coaching. But to go lead into something else, I guess, that's polarizing from that situation. The Christian Wood thing. You said Christian Wood is the player that you look at and you're like, he's a nice guy. He isn't really what I expected from other folks or whatever. What do you feel about the starting situation? I know we keep hearing that Jason Kidd doesn't want to start him, but it looks like the best or the most success we've had this year has been when Christian Wood started for us this year, as far as the winning games in a row. So what do you feel about that situation, and like, what do you hear, I guess?
Well, I think the big thing with that is, I think, as we just discussed with the defense, there's really no fixing that. So, I mean, I feel like you got to go high octane,
Yeah.
like floor it with the offense.
You said Phoenix Suns?
Oh, yeah, you pretty much have to. I feel like you have to, because I don't know. I feel like some of the argument I see is that why would you put Christian Wood in the starting lineup when you have Luka and Kyrie? But it's like Kyrie paces himself for most of the first half until he's running that second unit. And also there's elements to the game that go beyond who's taking the shot. I don't really think that you want to be playing personnel where early in the game Luka's getting blitzed and hard hedged and he's giving the ball up to Dwight Powell in a 4-on-3. I don't think that's the right way to start a game. And then a lot of times you end up trailing for the first 5-6 minutes, and then it's that kind of reminded me of how the playoffs went a lot of the times last year as well too. So it's you already knew that wasn't the answer. So I don't really think that it makes sense to be we had 3 rounds of the playoffs that didn't work. Let's go do this again next season when we have I don't get it. At the very least, if you're super concerned about the defense, which first of all I don't really think at this point there's an answer regardless, but why don't you just try switching with Christian Wood and just be it is what it is. Who cares?
Right.
We probably aren't going to do anything of substance this year with the way the regular season's gone. Why? I don't think we've seen enough of Kyrie, Luka, and Christian Wood minutes to at least be let's evaluate this thing from a business standpoint too. These are impending free agents. Why wouldn't you want to see more of those guys together for long stretches to be this won't or will work? I feel you should want answers on that stuff before you're well, Christian Wood's going to be a free agent and we have his bird, we can go over the cap to retain him, or we lose him and we don't have that spending power. I feel I would really want to do my due diligence on how all the different variables will work before I lose him or have to bank on a sign and trade or something.
Well, we have this. I'll let you go, Rob, but we have this great community service guy, Dwight Powell. He's in a contract year as well, Grant. So I think maybe, they're trying to showcase him so that he can get another contract maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, I remember posting about that a little while ago. It's just I don't know. It just seems kind of confusing to me where it's the whole Western Conference Finals run. I felt they knew they needed to upgrade, so they added 2 centers, and then it's Cleveland got an extension, and it's Dwight Powell didn't get an extension, so it's I don't know, if it's that, if someone's a fundamental part of your team, I feel there'd be more buzz at least, not even saying an agreement, I feel it would at least be he's integral, and we're going to at least explore that option. I don't know. It's just kind of a confusing situation.
I was definitely being sarcastic, Grant. Don't worry about it.
Listen, man. To kind of piggyback on what King was just talking about when you're talking about the whole Christian Wood and how to use him and stuff like that. I remember Jason Kidd talking about this in one of the press conferences. He was talking about the fact that they wanted to utilize Maxi Kleber and Christian Wood in more opportunities together. Do you feel they did that enough? Because to us, I feel they didn't do it enough, for us to sit there and say okay, it's going to work or it's not going to work.
I don't think they have done it enough. I remember I think I asked that at practice, and then he was even if the numbers don't look good initially, we got to be patient with Maxi, and then live with the results and work through it, something along those lines. And I feel Maxi, I don't think he's quite been what he was before the injury. That's natural because he came back really. I felt I'm not a doctor, but I felt that was pretty quick. I don't know what happened with that, but it was pretty quick. It felt so it's it's expected he wouldn't be flying around and all that stuff at a high level for a long period of time in the game. But I think at least you have a rim protector with both of those guys, at least with length. I'm not saying an imposing rim protector by any stretch, but at least someone with a bigger frame compared to going small with Bullock at the 4 or something along those lines. So I feel it gives you more options to kind of disrupt those initial actions other teams run with the switching, and then I guess play a little bit later in the clock and at least try to see if you can hold your own. I feel Christian Wood is a little underrated at the ISO defense, the switching and moving around. Like, that's something he did well with Houston. Or I don't want to say like great or anything like that. Like proportions are very important parts of the language for sure. But like feel like he did pretty well at that. And, the drop coverage stuff, he didn't do well in that in Houston. And I feel like expecting, like, different results in both of those things doesn't really make sense. Like, you have a whole track record to kind of go off of for sure.
Well, I'll keep going on, I guess, confidence and things of that nature. Josh Green. Josh Green, another, I guess, polarizing figure right now. I don't know why I love Josh Green. I've defended him on his show much. I think he can do a whole bunch of things at a near elite level. It's just his scoring, the confidence on that is what he needs to step his game up in. And we've seen times on, this season where they went through Josh Green, like I can say Utah, I believe. And he was important. And when he left the game, it was like they couldn't get any offense situated at all without him. So I can see what he can do. But how do you feel? Like, I know Jason Kidd has decided at times to take him out of the starting lineup and put him on the bench and things like that, going back and forth. Do you feel like that's affecting his confidence at all, as far as him being a player that I guess relies on confidence? We can see that from last year in the playoffs, that he relies on confidence from back then. So do you think any of that, as far as Jason Kidd playing, well, not playing, but deciding to go back and forth, maybe messing with his confidence?
Well, I do think at the very least it's messing with, like, probably comfort level. Because if you're switching lineups and all that stuff, it's like, I don't know. I feel like I do agree with the confidence thing. I think he doesn't really, like, often look to be that aggressive when he's playing with the two superstars, but also in general lately, he hasn't really been the most aggressive guy. Like in some of these games when those guys are out, it's like watching two different players to me. But I think part of it too is, like, I feel like I like to see more structure with the half court offense. Like, put him in some actions to where he can just, like, explode downhill or be a screener. Like, I feel like in November against the Nets or something, we saw him, like, ghost screen, and then I feel like I've almost never seen him ghost screen ever again. And he hit, like, a pick and pop three off that. Like, I don't know, like, that guy could really, like, attack downhill if someone, like, got out on him on the shots. Like, I feel like I want to sell the defense, like, hey, this guy can really do this stuff. Come close out on him really hard, and then create more opportunities for yourself. But yeah, I think part of it's like everyone's adjusting, and there's not really a lot of guidance with the offense to really, like, put people in like those, like, role players, to put them in those sort of positions where they're not necessarily overthinking. It's like, here's an action, go do something, let me make a play. Probably needs to be more of that as they sort through this stuff. But then again, we have checks the calendar, 5 games left. I don't really know how much you can do with that. But yeah, it's just I guess just a thought for the big picture.
Why not have the most athletic guy on your team cutting to the rim always?
But Grant, do you think that a lot of that has to do with? Because I really feel like this. I've said this a million times on the show. I really feel like maybe somebody like Igor missing him now has a lot to do with what the offense being stagnant as it is right now. Because like you said, we got 5 games left, and we still don't know what the identity of this team is on offense. You got these players like the Josh Greens and guys like that completely disappear when they got other players in. You know what I'm saying? Or when those players are out, then he looks like an all-star. You know what I'm saying? So you think that us missing Igor has a lot to do with it?
Yeah, I think he is definitely one of the more, like, talented, like, creative, like, offensive minds in the league. There's people like that, I've talked to from other teams that view him in that regard. So I think when you lose someone like that, and you're not really, like, replacing him with someone who's, like, a seasoned, like, mind like that, I think it's natural that it would be like there's probably a drop off, and I think we're seeing that as well with the needing to adjust on the fly. With the superstar you just added, like, and he's standing in the corner, like, too much. Like, I know some of it's like his preference to pick spots, but I mean, it's uncomfortable sometimes to kind of see Kyrie Irving of all people kind of filling like some stretches where it's like, man, like, is he, like, what's going on here? Like, it's kind of weird. Like, I think Indiana's broadcast when I was at the game, they were like, why is he standing in the corner so much? Like, what is going on? Like, this really, man. Yeah, it's just odd. Yeah, like, stuff like that. I feel like I would be like, I don't think Igor would probably have problems with kind of speeding that along, in my opinion. But yeah.
Do you think that's an issue of Jason Kidd really not having any veterans on his team?
I think honestly, part of it. I don't know if it's veterans. I think they do have a decent amount of them. But I think trying to even think, like, just picture the last like calendar month. I don't know if they even had that much practice time either. I think that's also another thing. Just thinking of different factors, because they've been on the road a lot. Like I think out of the All-Star break, they did have plenty of practice opportunities because I think they had like a 6-game homestand. But like this last calendar month has been a lot of road games. So yeah, and then those guys being in and out of the lineup, I think has a lot to do with like kind of we haven't really gotten comfortable with each other yet. So I think regardless of who the coach, I guess you could say too, that probably has some factor in it as well, where, naturally if guys are on the court for like 10 plus games together for long stretches, there probably will be like whoever's coaching would probably have some issues with that as well too, I would think. But yeah, it's overall it's a very challenging set of circumstances.
The way you slice it.
It is.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, you can say something?
No, go ahead, bro.
I was gonna ask you a question. Okay, so let me ask you this. I know there's a lot of things that we need to do. I know, but if you can just fix one thing, like one thing that you think can help this team, a little bit more than the other things, what would that one thing be?
Well, I think it'd have to be a rim protector because I think at heart, the defense I think wants to their style that they really want to play is to run players off the line, and I like there's stretches where it's like, okay, if you're running someone off the line and they're driving straight into Dwight Powell, that's probably not going to work out for your defense.
Right.
Then you're probably going to allow 60 plus points in the paint. Like no knock on like Dwight Powell. Like he's a great like everything you guys say, like, I'm sure I don't need to go through the whole rant. I'm sure you already know. But I'm sure you said it yourselves a lot.
Yeah.
He's a great guy, but it's like there's certain limitations with the tools when you're like, not a true 7-footer. You don't have like the 7'2", 3, 4 wingspan, and you don't like jump out of the gym. Like there's only so much you can do when you're rotating, and Michael Porter Jr. is driving a closeout, and he's almost as big as you, Euro stepping around you like that. There's not really a whole lot that you can do about that. Like that, I think that's just a talent thing. Like whether it's physical, natural talent, or just talent in general with like shot blocking and all that stuff. Like however you want to describe it, I think that's probably the number one thing if they're gonna try to play like some run you off the line sort of approach.
Yeah, and it seems like whenever they do have a good defensive possession, they can't end it with a rebound. So
that is very true. That's another great point. Like a lot of things stem from having that anchor, that presence. And then it makes it easier to handle shooters as well if you can kind of stay tighter on them and all that stuff. So
Kyrie talked about that too.
Yeah,
Kyrie talked about that in his last not the last one, I think like second to the last press conference. He talked about that, the way they play defense in Brooklyn compared to how they're playing defense now. Now remember, Brooklyn has Claxton in the middle, so they can be a little bit more, they can take a little bit more chances on the outside when they got a guy like that in the paint. We don't, like you said, we don't have that. Nobody's like a deer in headlights when they see the Dwight Powell in the paint or anything like that, man. So let me ask you a question too, man. Speaking of personnel, we on this channel, man, our motto is in Nico we trust. So I'm gonna ask you this question, man. So far, it's 2 questions. Have you seen a GM be on a hot seat from day one of signing with a team before? And how much pressure do you think that Nico is under right now trying to get this team corrected under Luka and maybe Kyrie?
Honestly, I think there's a lot. I actually, to answer your first question, I don't think I have seen that. I think because honestly, there hasn't been a lot of GMs that have been hired where you're like I guess you could say maybe the agents that have kind of been hired to run things. But like other than that, you don't really see a whole lot of people who like didn't have like front office experience or like basketball organization experience. So I guess when you don't have the perceived second star right away, and then it's like what moves are you going to make with limited assets? I think there was people probably had like skepticism or whatever you want to say about I think a seasoned pro would need to be able to navigate that situation. But I think in general, in terms of the pressure, I think everyone will be facing a lot of pressure in general as long as Luka is wearing a Maverick uniform. Because like any superstar, any like all NBA guy, I don't know, in terms of like, you know, the immediate future, but going from a Western Conference Finals appearance to like, we're basically having to see what the Oklahoma City Thunder score is to see if they'll even like play a play-in game. Like that's and the crazy thing about that too is that not only did they blow that 16-point lead, but they sat Luka for one of those games.
Yep.
Like that's now you don't have a tiebreaker because you blew a 16-point lead, you sat Luka, and you load managed like a good like 6-7 games that like you load managed for a playoff that might not. I'm not gonna say that is not coming, but might not even like you might not even have a real shot to fight for it. Like that type of stuff. I feel like that's a different rant, of course, but yeah, I felt there's a lot of pressure to be able to navigate all that stuff, and retaining Kyrie is important, as you guys said, but and then patching all. Honestly, almost everything needs to be tended to if you think about it. Kyrie, the talent is undeniable, but you got to keep him. And then you got to move a lot of these bad contracts at some point for players. Yes. But what assets do you have? Do you even have the 11th pick? And then if you get the 11th, or not 11th pick, if you get a top 10 pick, I mean, does that still come at the cost of Luka just sitting at home being like, I'm watching the Oklahoma City Thunder play a playing game, and like I'm going to have to wait for a rookie to kind of come in here and develop for the next like 2 to 3 years? Like, it's like almost like a pick your poison in a sense. Like, do you want to like kind of show more competitiveness now and have less assets? Or do you want to actually have the asset and then be like, okay, well, we really need to get this right, and we need to be a top 6 seed next year and not even risk this chance of this like, second half of the season not being, what we want and sliding all the way out of the play-in. Like that. So yeah, for the pressure thing, that's a lot of pressure to face for sure. A lot of pressure.
Do you feel like Luka is putting pressure on the organization as well at any point now?
Honestly, I don't have a great like a deep grasp of that stuff, but I would say like just kind of reading tea leaves, if you will. I do think that there was probably some pressure applied to get like a Kyrie Irving trade done. But I think in general, like missing the play-in, I don't think he even has to open his mouth. It's a really put too much out there. I think that if you kind of look at what or listen to what Nico said on the radio on like 97.1, like that appearance, I think he said, I think it was then, or was it the Q&A? I don't remember what it was, but basically along the lines of like, I think the losing definitely like adds to his off the court. Like handling stuff or whatever you want to call it. And, when there's an acknowledgement of that, that's a lot of pressure to like, okay, we need to win. Like we need to win now, like now. Yeah.
But let me ask you a question, Grant. This debate is going around right now on Twitter, as you probably know, amongst Mav Twitter. We're talking about, like you just brought up, talking about that pick. So it looks like Dallas is more on the edge of keeping the pick compared to not keeping it. If you had to decide, would you want to keep that pick or would you want to let it go?
Well, I think this is kind of a tough one to kind of pick apart because I don't know if they can even at this point, it's almost like if you do try to not keep the pick, they're almost like losing games at a point where it's like they might just keep the pick anyways. So I honestly don't know if they have to make much decisions on that one because I can't predict the future for sure, but it's like, second or two back-to-back on the road, like the 4th game, the 5th game of a 5-game road trip. That's tough, especially when like your off days are in a city like Miami. I don't know what activities. My activities are not going to be the same as other people's activities in the city of Miami. So just a wild guess, but and then I guess like Chicago, Sacramento, and San Antonio, I think are the last 3 games. Maybe they take care of like 2 of those, or who knows what Sacramento will have to play for at that point too. So I guess there's a lot of factors that you kind of have to go like kind of pick apart for that. But in general, I think you honestly just have to give an honest effort and play it through, and whatever happens, happens. Because you benefit from making the play-in. I know there's an outcome where you're in purgatory in a sense, like the purgatory outcome of you miss the play-in and you lose the pick. But Yeah, I think you just got to give it an honest effort because I think it would not go well. Like, I don't want to say that. I don't want to speculate on how someone will react to hypothetical, but like I can't imagine it going that great when you have the only team of 2 All-Star starters and you're like, hey guys, can you like not do the thing you love to do every day while you have the chance on the line to fight for a playing spot? Could you just sit and not do that and let us like just tank for a 19-year-old who may not even be good for like 2 years or 3 years?
Right.
That'd be awesome, guys. Like I don't think that could really like I don't know. I feel like when you in the practical sense, that's kind of a tough hypothetical to really like pick.
Do you think that if we were to get a top 10 pick, that maybe we should trade it away to New York with the protection, like just getting rid of the pick and maybe getting like an expiring contract in return?
So basically, your thought is that like so you have the pick and then you trade it to New York.
So it's not over your head, basically. So you're done and you can trade future picks.
Oh, okay, I got you. So you unlock all those like 2024, 20
Mm-hmm.
or 2025, 2026.
Yeah.
I think it's tough because like in terms of like the players you get in return, I feel like for that, like if you can get some helpful pieces, maybe that'd be worth considering. I feel like you'd have to get real contributors for the salary. Like if you're going to get rid of like your worst contract, maybe like Bertans or something.
Right.
And then you get like, a solid, like couple players, like not like their top players or anything, but like, some rotation players. I think that could maybe be worth considering. But then if you had to pick anyways, I feel like I'd probably just look at what other teams are offering if I'm playing the 2K my GM mode. Like I'm probably.
That's what I was going to ask you next, Grant. Like, can we still move the pick if we keep the pick? Can we still move it?
I think you have to basically. I think what they can do is they would be drafting for the other team.
Yeah.
And then after it's announced, then you can't. Then you would move it, and then basically I think that's how it would work, to my understanding. Yeah. So I think. You wouldn't be able to do like some crazy. Yeah, there's still a chance. You can't do a crazy package with it, to my understanding, but you could at least like move the pick and probably like just announce it and move it, and then get probably something pretty solid in return for sure.
So you're saying we could trade the number 1 pick for Anthony Davis?
Yeah. If you pay Adam Silver enough, maybe.
That'd be nice. I was about to ask you something too, man, about the future of this team. You talked about the interview with Nico. There's a quote that's going around on Twitter right now, man, of what he said about the future of our coach, Jason Kidd. But he also said too in the same interview, it's like it's all going to depend on what happens at the end of the season. So if we don't make it to the play-in this year, could you see Jason Kidd actually being gone?
I think it's tough because, to my understanding, he had a 4-year deal, and I think this is like year 2. So
year 2, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it would be kind of tough necessarily to envision that. Like you or I making decisions might be a little different if I had to guess, But I think I guess in the NBA when you make a Western Conference Finals one year. I don't know. Maybe that buys someone a little more grace with how a lot of people.
You sound like you said Nate McMillan. My bad.
Yeah, I guess maybe you don't. Maybe it doesn't. Not in every city, not every zip code, or every situation. But I guess it has to. I guess I have to see how ugly the ending would be if it was an ugly ending. Like if they just like completely discombobulate, like just like clutch games are just terrible. They're like not even trying anymore. Like maybe if it gets really ugly, I could, maybe see that. But I don't have a great answer for you. But I think it would definitely be worth the questioning for that though, because like that's a big drop off. There's a pattern of drop off in the second year with Jason Kidd's coaching tenures. So like, I mean, if a lot of people are going off history, I think there's fair justification to be like, I mean, the satellite people aren't necessarily coming out of the game or coming into the game like super like with urgency. They're kind of needing a halftime talk like that. To me, that doesn't sound like a very healthy situation in terms of like people responding to what they need to respond to. I mean, some people could say maybe some like the players need to self motivate, but I feel like if the X's and O's aren't crushing it, I don't know. I feel like there probably should be more motivational factor from the guy, who is at the front of the bench. If you're not necessarily like outsmarting everybody else in the clutch and like holding your leads.
Do you feel as if Nico has that power to actually make that call? I know it seemed like he was hired after Jason Kidd.
That I'm actually not sure. I would like I actually don't know. Like, to be honest, like I'm not the most inside of insiders or anything of that nature. So I honestly don't know a whole lot about like that element of it for sure. But I'd probably be playing the guessing game on it. But yeah.
But so do you think it? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Can you just
go ahead.
So do you think that if they kind of fix some things up this offseason with the roster, do you think Kidd would do a better job next year? Like in your heart, do you feel like he would do a better job if they actually fix some things? Like you said, we get a big and maybe a couple of wings and stuff like that, re-sign Kyrie and all that stuff. Do you really think that Jason Kidd would be a better coach next year with those available pieces?
Yeah, I do because honestly, I don't think anything beats having a full training camp. I think Kyrie Irving in itself, or in his by himself, I think would be a helpful presence. I think he's a very good leader on the court, and by example as well. I think having him build that chemistry, I think he can handle that a good amount of that himself. With doing what he's supposed to do. That checks all your boxes by itself. And then if you have a big who's anchoring the paint, doesn't even have to be the best one. That's an improvement. That probably changes a good amount of games. They were allowing 60 points in the paint for a ton of games. And then if you have wings that can actually not get bodied,
right.
Against their matchup, because a lot of guys are guarding down or up or whatever you want to call it, basically guarding the wrong spot when you're for their base matchup. That's tough when you don't have a rim protector too. When you really think about it, what you need for an elite, if you're going to make the perfect defense, you need a rim protector, and you need a guy like a Draymond Green who's a low man who's going to be able to make those really precise backline rotations,
right.
and then communicate, be basically the middle linebacker out there, and then you need on ball. If you're going to build a perfect defense, you need on ball stoppers, at least one that can really get into the ball and blow up, pick and roll, do whatever you need to do, like Lou Dort did against Kawhi Leonard not long ago, in one of those games in the clutch. They don't have any of those three things at all, so it's no wonder why they're a bottom defense that. I feel I'm not trying to necessarily be oh, I'm gonna apologize for someone's coaching or anything of that nature, or whatever, but I feel like it's very hard to coach when you don't have the fundamental pieces. I feel like there's coaching that could lose you games, but I don't really feel like there's a lot of coaching that would win you those games. Because then you also have San Antonio. They don't have a lot of great personnel that are ready to win now. And Greg Popovich is a great coach. He's not going to coach them to be a legit competitive team because he doesn't have the pieces. So I think if you do get the right pieces in there. For the roster, that does solve a lot of issues in itself. But then again, it's do I have the utmost confidence that when we, the ideal scenario would be that you're in a playoff series, obviously, because you have two all-star starters. Do I have confidence that we will win a chess match? That's what you have to ask yourself, with the other team's coaching. And I don't think they really had to do too many chess matches this last run. I think they kind of just had the best player in the series who went crazy, and the number two player had very good series, and they just shot the lights out of the ball. I don't think there was a whole the chessboard kind of just solved itself. I don't think there was necessarily a ton of calculation that went into that. And then the Warriors had a deeper roster, and then you lost on that regard. So I think talent does have a big part of it, but yeah, I do think in terms of coaching, I think it's definitely an important thing to evaluate from a big picture standpoint. You can't just be thinking will it be good enough? If you want to win a ring, it's like, will this person outsmart somebody else? We got to be able to win a game or two in a series or the whole series by having that confidence that someone's going to be able to outsmart the other coach.
You gonna say something, King?
No, I'm ready. You want to move on to the glow yard, bro? Or you still have more?
No, I was gonna say one more thing too. What you said about the Greg Popovich thing. Like you're right. The coach is not gonna win with that talent he has. He's not gonna win 50 games or whatever, right? But how many games have we seen Greg Popovich actually lose San Antonio?
That's true. That's very true.
So
that's a good one.
That's all we pretty much ask you to do is not lose us games. You know what I mean? So
they have lost a lot of clutch games where the other team. I'm not gonna say a lot of the games because I'd have to really dig in and be like looking at like on court like mannerisms and like communication. Yeah. But there's been a few games where the other team definitely knew what the set was or what they were gonna do before they did it. That's a problem. So I can't sugarcoat that. That was like the Milwaukee game. That was really bad.
Perfect example.
And then Luke is just sitting there like come on, I see what's happening. Who's looking? Who's paying attention? And then nothing. And then it blows up, and it's like he kind of he gets a little like lack for a better term pissed off at that court. Like that's an issue. Like that probably was a very winnable game. If there's more organization, a counter. Like you got to have some presets that you can turn to where it's like, all right, they figured this one out. We're not going to run this same thing we were just about to do after this timeout. Like that's where it's a real problem. I feel like so I definitely can't see where it's like, probably worth the evaluation. Like really dig deep and be honest with yourself. Like really pick apart the clutch games. Like really evaluate the defense. How much of this was personnel? Like that's what they've really got to do. I feel like because there's just not a lot of time that you can like play around with all NBA like generational talents like patience and like I don't know him off the court, so I'm not gonna say like if you don't do this, he's gonna like hit the trade demand button. But like I feel like as a player, he gets very like quick temper with like the referee. Like I can't imagine him like the thing that he loves to do and he has put his whole life's work into. He would really be content with this season's like final result. As we expect, probably it's probably not going to be a great result with where they are right now. And then like a slow start next year, like that's not good. Like that's not progress after the Western Conference Finals round. I feel like you just can't play around with that. There's got to be a lot of urgency with it for sure.
Let me actually. I got another question I just thought of, Grant. Having two, I guess, superstar players or all-star starters, like you say, and you said teams actually know plays now from Jason Kidd and all. Do you feel like any team would be scared still or like worried, I guess, to play the Mavericks in a series at all?
Honestly, with the way the defense is, I don't think so. And okay. if I'm like firing up synergy and I'm wearing my 3/4 zip as an opposing coach, and I'm seeing like if I squint hard enough, sometimes like the role that Kyrie Irving's playing reminds me of like George Hill, like standing in the corner and doing like just watching, like. I don't know if I'm like really scared, That's probably not the thing I would be,
Yeah. I say the same.
Yeah, amen. Let's see. You want to go ahead and get to the questions and stuff, man? See if anybody got any questions.
We can get to the glow yard.
All right, glow yard, man. If I guess y'all don't really have to put the WTMs. We ain't really. There's a lot of people here today, but yeah. If you got any questions, guys, you go ahead and post them now. TGK, I know you had a question, man. You said you had something you wanted to ask him earlier. So if you guys have any questions, man, just go ahead and post them. I guess you can take it away, King.
Okay.
And Jalen Brunson almost had 50 tonight.
Wow, really?
Yep, 48.
Richard Case here. He says, only one question. Does Kidd or management think Dwight Powell is actually good at his position, I guess, Grant?
That I don't know. Like honestly, I'm not too like familiar with like the deep insider stuff, but like what people really think and all that stuff. But I mean, I would hope the coach would think someone's good if they're starting. Like
you might be right on that.
Like I would hope that someone would think they're good. Like I think I think in certain applications, I think he's helpful. But like I think like I don't think that's like someone that you need to be necessarily relying on as an everyday starter. Like that's physically the size profile is outmatched against a lot of matchups. Like that's just not. It's not an anchor. Like I don't need to go the whole thing again.
Hold on. So you saying you saying he can't lock up Joel Embiid? That what you're trying to tell me?
I might need to go back and look and give you a good answer. On that. No, not happening for sure. So yeah, like I don't know their opinions on it for sure. But I mean, I feel like they probably think he's a helpful player. He's a good locker room guy. He's like a lead by example guy, I would say. I would hope so, at least if he's starting.
So I won't put you on the spot and ask you this question, but I'll tell you how we feel. We always talk about it, and we don't feel that Dwight would be a starter on any other team in the league. So
I agree. I don't really think so either. Yeah.
Like, do you think JaVale McGee should get some playing time?
Well, that's tough for me to answer, honestly, because it's kind of one of those trick questions in a sense. Like, not saying you asked me the question, but like my answer would be complicated because I think in theory, a guy who's got his size should be helpful. I just seen him jump at too many like 6 foot guards ball fakes.
Yeah.
To be like, because I don't know, like my whole thing with it is it's like there's some games where he could be contributing, and it's like like you look smart for saying that. But then it's like I don't know what day on the calendar it's going to be where like a guard gets him to just jump and then he fouls on like a 6 foot guard's like just stride stop fake and then just makes weird plays like that. Like it's not like there's no like consistency where you're like I can trust him to anchor my defense. And I'm gonna that's gonna be the calming presence for my unit. Like I just like it's hard for me to be like that guy needs to get a lot more minutes because it's like I feel like there's a lot of ups and downs with it. Like that's something where you almost gotta be the coach, like in the coaching staff, where you're like you kind of know the temperament, like who's locked in, who's not locked in, and like there's more nuance to it, I guess, in a way, because it's like it's not like a yes or no. There's like some gray area, in my opinion.
We got for 2 more years.
Yeah, we have too many streaky players on this team. That's the issue.
Oh, for sure.
TGK, he says definitely a friend of the show, but he says for Grant, how much time do you have from the game ends to time post-game pressers? Okay, to begin, I'm sorry. And 2, when do you know who will be at the presser and if that affects your process to asking questions?
Well, for the amount of time that I have from the game, lately it's been a long time, to be honest. Like they must be having some locker room discussions because I actually, the last couple of games, I will say this, during this road trip, like sometimes at home they've done it, like lately with the disappointing losses and, like someone's not going to come out for a little while, but I've actually started putting a timer on my phone, to be honest. Like, and it was like 45 minutes in Philadelphia. Like,
jeez.
People are like, when is someone gonna come out here? Like I will say this: to put in perspective, the amount of like stuff that Kyrie Irving does on a daily basis that goes into his like process. The point being with that is that he does post game lifts, and I'm sure he does recovery stuff as well. If he's the first one at the podium, like that's a long day. It's a very long day because he's usually like early in the trade he was last, and like respect, like out of respect, it's like I understand like there's a lot that goes in. Like he's the guy that's like last one on the court, all that stuff. It's like that's totally understandable. But if he's first, like I'm starting an iPhone timer. I gotta just at least entertain myself, see how long this is gonna last a little bit. But normally, I think it would be. I think like they're supposed to have someone like I know they open up the locker room for like the tier 1 access like 20 minutes after, and I think they're supposed to have someone talking like probably I would imagine like I don't remember the rules exactly, but I feel like it's usually around like that sort of number, maybe like 25-ish minutes if I had to guess for sure. Nice. But as far as do I know who will speak? Normally they will say like when normally the coach is first, like Jason Kidd will be first, and then someone will say like this player and that player will be available. And normally, like my thought usually is like I assume the superstars will be available if they had a good game. Like in Indiana with Kyrie having like 16 points, Jaden Hardy at 20. I kind of just do a guess, to be honest. Like I'm like I think Jaden Hardy will probably be the one because there's a blowout. I don't really know. Like Kyrie's done it a lot lately. They'll probably give him a break today. Probably Jaden Hardy that'll do it with his score more, all that stuff. So I feel like it's usually just like kind of a like before you get to the room, it's a little bit of a guessing game for sure about like who's a top performer, who's done it like a lot lately, and all that stuff.
Cool. We have a mount here. He says, "Why won't Kid play Seawood more?"
I feel like if I knew the answer to that one, I feel like I'd have a lot of good content out of that one. I don't really know. Like I asked about the closing lineup stuff.
Yeah.
After the Philly game. Yeah, you remember that one? Yeah, where it was like defensive breakdowns and all that stuff. Like honestly, I don't really know the real answer because sometimes I feel like it's hard to necessarily like look into that stuff and be like,
okay, I thought you were gonna say it's hard to get the real answer.
oh no, like, well, sometimes sometimes they don't add up. Sometimes they don't add up. Like
yeah, exactly.
But I will say this, in fairness, when picking apart like the post game answers, I mean, I would hope that the memory for like coaches and all that stuff would be strong. But I know a lot of coaches do say this, like, I got to open the film first. But I feel like the context of like certain game situations should probably be like, should like line up with the answers and all. But yeah, like I don't really know the exact reason, but yeah, like because all I know is that they won more games when he started. They were 9-4 when he started, and I know a lot of people will say, like. Oh, they play the Rockets twice, or I think twice, and like the Spurs and all that stuff. But honestly, like after losing the Charlotte Hornets twice,
you said that too.
We're
getting beat by those teams, so yeah.
Yeah, beating bad teams sounds like it would be pretty good for the Mavericks right now. Yep. Like, that's kind of my thought.
TGK had more as well. He said, lastly, what is your process to asking an open-ended question to a coach or player to get them to give you such a candid response? Is it different from coach to player to player? What does that look like?
Yeah, I would say there is differences. Like Luka, like I don't really think he wants to like dive into like a lot of like nuance and like all that stuff. Like he wants to keep stuff to himself. I feel like he's not going to tell you a secret or whatever. Like Kyrie will talk. Like he'll give you his analysis of it and it'll be detailed. And what I do appreciate about him on that stuff is that even after a loss, he's not. You wouldn't tell a difference. There's like a veteran like professionalism in that sense. Like not saying someone's unprofessional for not doing that, but you know what I mean. Like they don't let the win loss impact like the answers, and like honestly like that's not an important thing for a player. But like it's something I appreciate because I want to be able to use the answer for stuff. But yeah, I think for the open-endedness, I just like to phrase stuff and like ask about like actual like parts of the game. Like I saw something like a pattern that I thought influenced the game or something in recent games, like a trend. And I genuinely just want their perspective on it. And, I'm not going to ask like I know everyone has their own style. Like some people like to focus on like the more like traditional journalistic approach of like emotions and, things of that nature. Like what are you guys feeling right now? You had a loss, like some people focus on that stuff, but I like to like mine are all like the kind of like more X's and O's like worded. And I know a lot of the terminology as well. So like I think that does help. Like when I asked Kyrie Irving about like zoom action or horn sets and things like that, that's not like a super like advanced term or anything. It's just a basic like offensive term. But like that's a lot easier to get an answer when I say zoom action as opposed to like when someone sets an off-ball screen, like a pin down for you, and then you come off that into a handoff, and then you're playing off that, like that's a lot of words to just say like zoom action. So I feel like understanding those things definitely helps a lot because it just immediately like kind of turns, okay, he wants a basketball answer. I'm going to give him a basketball answer.
Got you.
Nice.
To the point. I like that.
I do too. Richard says, if Kid is safe, what about St. Jean, Grant?
Honestly, I'm not too positive on that stuff either. Like, I hate to disappoint with like inside. I'm really not like a great like option for the insider information, but in a traditional sense, I would say, coach, I don't really feel like assistants get retained, like in a lot of situations. Like if there's in a hypothetical where a head coach gets fired, I don't really know of too many like if it's like a trainer or something, or like a shooting coach guy that might be retained, or
Right.
like Phil
Like
Handy,
Sham God.
he might, Sham God, like, but like someone who's like more of like, I'm responsible for the offense, like, or I'm responsible for the defense. Like, I don't, like, I feel like a lot of people, unless there's like a oddly specific connection that he shares with that new coach, I don't really know if that would work out for someone who's hoping to keep a job, I guess, in a sense.
To continue off of that, Grant, if Kidd was to stay though, and say the offense was to stay the same, the way, like we said, Kyrie in the corner and things like that, would they ever think of maybe moving on from St. Jean with Kidd staying here though?
That, I mean, I think it would make sense if you're still having those issues. I think that would make a lot of sense. Yeah, I think you'd have to make some change for sure. Like, if you're not comfortable making a change at the top, I think you'd have to make a change somewhere for sure. Like, if Kyrie Irving's still not being involved, one of the best clutch players, like in the clutch and all that stuff. Like I don't, like, I know there's time for people to get comfortable and all that stuff, but yeah, I feel like there's got to be a way to simply involve Kyrie Irving. Like, just put the ball in his hands. Like, do something. Like, there's got to be some way. It's not like I feel like sometimes, like with sports, sometimes I feel like there might be some overthink or something like that. Like just get the ball in Kyrie Irving's hands. Like, come on. Like, I don't want to say like you or I would be like better coaches than like someone being paid a coach, but like, please just I think the closer, like one of the world class closers, like I think that's got can't be just camping in the strong side corner. Like if that's happening, I would probably be writing an article about the need for things to get changed pretty fast.
TGK also says, I know you probably don't know this answer, Grant, but he says hypothetical question for Grant. If Kidd were to be cut, would Igor be the number one prospect for the Mavs head coach?
Yeah, I probably don't know that one either, but yeah. I mean, I would think that he would be a good option. I think like guys who got hired recently, it's kind of like thinned out the options, like Quinn Snyder in Atlanta. Like, I like him a lot as a coach. I think he, like, especially with the way he got such an efficient offense in Utah, kind of like spreading it out, running high pick and roll and all that stuff. I feel
what about Nick Nurse?
Nick Nurse, yeah, I think he'd be
hearing some rumors about him.
Options. Yeah, I think he'd be a very intriguing option for sure. Yeah, I think seeing who gets fired too, that would probably be a big one. But I do think, for example, like let's say like some team like Philadelphia had a horrible like playoff run. I don't think you can really replace Jason Kidd with Doc Rivers. Like, there's a lot of things people complain about that if you put a Venn diagram together, like you draw the long circles, there's a lot in the middle. I feel like that would meet with the style of those guys that people would have complaints on, for sure.
I think about Kenny over there, Kenny Atkinson. What about him?
I think I like him as a coach. I think he does like working with young players a lot. Like, I think there's some trust factor with that. So I think if you really want to maximize, like a Jaden Hardy or Josh Green, maybe that would be an intriguing option. I guess also it depends on like what he views the situation as, because I feel like he's got a pretty good spot. I feel like he's got family ties, if I remember reading about, like, with San Francisco. Like, I feel like I don't really know too much about that, but I think that was part of his decision. Like the money wasn't there for him to spend on assistants in Charlotte. But he also was like, all right, well then, I got stuff in not Golden State. It's not like a way to San Francisco. I got like stuff in San Francisco. I'm good. Like I feel like if he really would evaluate it, and maybe I don't know what his thoughts would be, but I mean I can't imagine too many people not wanting to coach. Like, assuming this is the nucleus, like I have no idea what will happen. Like, who knows? But like if that's the nucleus, like I would feel like I would look at the clutch losses, I would look at the leads, I'd be like, put me in there. I feel like I can win more games. Like if I'm a confident coach of my abilities, I feel like you look at the numbers. Yeah, I feel
Especially if you
like,
starting off with 2 superstars. I mean, yeah, you get a head
yeah,
start.
and then you have all the film too. Like not to just completely like say like oh like I'm gonna trash the coaching staff or anything like that. Like not trying
Right.
to say that. Like because the first person to try stuff has it harder than the person who's gonna be like that didn't work. For when there's like shortcomings and all, and then they can like review. All right, well I'll use this approach instead. Like that's easier than the failing first or whatever you want to call it. So I will say that. But yeah, I think like if you had the I guess the autopsy or the post.
His earbuds must have died. Check your mute button at the bottom, Grant. It probably muted you.
Hold on,
You probably got to unmute yourself.
There you go.
My bad.
There you go.
Got you. I got you.
I'm hearing the low battery sound, and I probably
I know that feeling. But I have a question for you, actually. I just thought of it real quick before I keep going. Do you feel like Luka's still going to be All NBA first team?
That's a good question. I actually started thinking about that earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like I think I think with the
Not
way
you
the
too,
season's
Grant.
ended,
Not you too, man.
the record.
Yeah.
I don't know how I would pick it. I don't know how I'd pick it, to be fair. I'm just thinking like I'm trying to guess like what other people would pick. I think a lot of people, if I'm just like envisioning like the typical like voter, they're gonna be like, well, I want my All NBA first team guy to win more games than like I don't know like how fair like certain logic is, but that's my guess. I feel like they'd be like, not making the play, you're not making All NBA first team. But yeah, that's kind of my guess.
We kind of said that too.
Yeah.
We thought maybe this might be that year that he's not the first year he's not gonna make the All NBA first team. So
we got hold on. We got Johnny B in here.
Man.
He said Grant asked Cuban, can he fire Kid and hire Udoka? I'm sure Will resign then.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of fans really want Ime Udoka for sure.
I mean, the Mavericks seem to sign people with all kind of baggage, so I wouldn't be surprised. Richard says, would we go for the jet from Jazz or more experienced coach? He's saying would we go for Jason Terry? Yeah, Jason. I said Jason Terry. Jason Terry, yeah. If for some reason would the Mavericks try him as far as like just having ties, you know how they are.
That's a good question, actually. Like, I don't know. I feel like he would have got a better look the first go around. I don't know.
I'm surprised he's not an assistant coach though. That's what I'm really surprised by.
Is this in Utah, ain't he?
No, I'm talking about here. Surprised he.
Here, yeah. I'm surprised.
Yeah, that was my thought too. Like I felt like there wasn't like a lot that went like lot said about him being a potential option, and then he kind of just like ended up there. Like I felt like that'd be a big leap to go from like we didn't really like look at you that aggressively for one of our spots to be our head coach. I could be wrong about a lot of things with the insider guesses, but yeah, for sure.
This one, TGK says for Grant, said any tips on traveling by train?
Yeah, I have one. Don't take it from New Orleans to Memphis. That took me like 11 hours. That was a long day. Yeah, that was a long day. I don't think I really knew what I was getting into. I think I saw $66, and then I was like, okay, I can do that. But that's like with flying though. Like if you're it's always great when you're on the computer and you're like, okay, that's a good price. But when you get there, you're like, oh my god, why did I do this? Why am I connecting? Why am I connecting here again or whatever? I would say be very cognizant about your prior Amtrak experience. Like find how long you've been on it and how long you can be on it. And don't do Memphis or New Orleans to Memphis. I wouldn't do that.
I've never done a train. I thought about it before though.
I've done a train from Paris to Barcelona.
Mm-hmm. How long was that one?
It was overnight. Took it. So
okay.
I started.
That's worth it though. Different countries.
Yeah, went and got there in the morning, so it was pretty cool. Johnny B is a good one. He said, have you heard anything about any off-season targets, Grant?
No, I haven't heard anything. I feel like that's an early one. I feel like if I heard anything, it might be tampering, a little bit of tampering going on there. But I do think just, kind of going off what we previously said, there's a long list of things they need. Kind of reading how, like, who's going to be available. who you can get in a trade. I think honestly, it's hard to even like determine who's the target until you know your pick situation.
There you go.
Like that, like if you're going out to the window to start shopping and you're like, do I even have my my wallet?
Or your check ain't hit the bank yet.
Yeah, that might be a problem for you for sure. Like that, yeah. So I think once we know like how the season definitively ends, if you lose the pick, that probably will make things make more sense, for sure.
A lot of the Glow Yard seems to be interested in Naz Reid. We feel like we can possibly get him.
Yeah, I think they'll have challenges in retaining him. Like I think they're paying a lot on their payroll. That's a lot of luxury tax to keep all those guys. I think that's. Like I think they like Mike Conley, obviously, but I feel like when you have an expiring deal with D'Angelo Russell, that's also a motivating factor to find a different point guard who signed for less money for multiple seasons. I think it would be very hard to pay three bigs. Like I'm just trying to think about that. Like I think Naz Reid is a good player, but like that's a lot of money to pay bigs. I think maybe some sort of. I don't know what their options are for Minnesota, but I can't imagine them like paying big money. If someone really went after him, I feel like they could get him for sure.
Maybe unless they go, take a swing and trade Cat.
Yeah, I think if you did that could be a good option. Like for like if you're gonna like say like keep Naz Reid, I think that could be a fair option for sure.
I think that's a possibility, especially seeing we got to see how they do in the playoffs or the play-in or whatever.
Because I wasn't that impressed with Karl Towns last play-in. Like, felt like they won in spite of him, not because of him. Like that's not good. And then you're adding another big, and it's like kind of an awkward thing there. Like, yeah, I definitely agree with you. That'd be something that I would definitely watch for sure. Like as a logical thing.
Yeah, he hasn't had a great playoffs in general his whole career.
I was just about to say can't name a playoff time he had that was great.
Johnny B said, "Tell them to tamper with Claxton from Brooklyn, man."
I'll take Claxton.
He said, Richard said, rode that same train years ago from Saints game to small town in Mississippi. He knows your pain.
Mississippi, I felt like I still had a lot left in the tank going through there. But all the way through.
To Memphis.
There's some people that were on there to Chicago, too. Like, man, I was just like, see y'all later. I'm out of here. Like, good luck. Going all the way to Chicago from New Orleans, man. Dang.
Yeah, he said it sucks way back then, too.
Yeah, it wasn't the best.
Well, I mean, Rel, that's it.
Yes, sir, man. Grant, listen, man, we definitely appreciate you, man, hopping on with us. I know you're busy down there in Miami. What time is it down there? 11?
Our time.
Basically like 10:50.
10? Oh, okay.
Yeah, Eastern.
Oh, yes, right, Eastern time. But yeah, man, like I said, man, we definitely appreciate you hopping on, man.
Is there anything else you want to say, Grant?
Yeah, anything else you want to
promote yourself? Anything you want to say?
Actually, I do have it wasn't like a lengthy interview, but I did talk to Jaden Hardy, like on Wednesday before the Philly game. I asked some stuff about his game. I'm going to do analysis. I've done it a couple times this year, like when he was in the G League and kind of like middle of the year before that like road OKC game in January. Mm-hmm. I just figure like with him being like so effective, like after the All-Star break, like 14 plus points per game in like 20 minutes or so. I definitely wanted to highlight that, especially like, cause I mean, like if they don't make the playoffs or the play-in, then it's like, the young players are definitely an important part of it. But yeah, I think there'll be a lot of analysis stuff. Like I'm probably going to do like some deep dive stuff, like why the defense never figured itself out. Like I'll probably break down like what it looked like when they went big, when they went small, the limitations. And then I'll probably look at the clutch offense as well in a separate article. And I'm going to work to try to get some interviews as well too coming up. Like I don't know, it's very hard like logistically to get stuff to pan out with like people's schedules and all. But I'll probably be working before that off season hits and everyone goes far off away. I'm going to try to do as much as I can with that. But I will promise you it won't be Luka Doncic, but hopefully some interesting name for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, Johnny,
it's not because I don't want to. I will say that. It's not because I don't want to. If Luka ever hears this and he wants to do one, I would be more than happy to do it. I just figure I'd put that out there.
Same here, Luka. Same here. We'd love to have you on this show too. Please.
Most definitely.
Oh, and Johnny B, like Rob was just about to say, we talked about it at the beginning of the show. Rewind it to the beginning.
Yeah,
Johnny
rewind
B.
to the beginning, man. We already touched on that.
that.
But yeah, man, listen, we definitely appreciate you, man. We appreciate the Glow Yard members who help keep the lights on, as we would say. I do have Grant's information down in the description box below, guys, if you want to follow him on Twitter and also follow his work on DallasBasketball.com. He got, like I said, great articles, man. He covers the Mavericks, man. He's probably one of the few that we actually can listen to and actually get great insight on what's going on with the Mavericks, man. So we definitely appreciate you hopping on, man.
Yes.
Well, I guess we don't have to do all the formalities, man, so everybody's already members and stuff like that. So, but yeah, we're going to call it a night, guys. We definitely appreciate y'all. We'll be back here on Saturday evening, guys, for the post game after the Mavs play the Miami Heat. I'm not going to say I hope it's a win. Let's just see how it goes. Let's see how it goes.
Well, I got to say one last thing. Shout out to Kendrick Perkins. Carry the hell on.
Carry on.
I just got to end on that.
Hey, we got Kendrick Perkins beef on the show, bro. I love it.
Boy, I tell you.
Carry on.
Steady putting his foot in his mouth, man. Every time he talks, man. All the time. But yeah, man. But with all that being said, guys, we'll be back here on Saturday. Same map time, same map channel. We appreciate you, Grant. Go Mavs. And we out, y'all.
Yes, sir.